So, what's happening with Iran right now just went from bad to worse. This is a tweet that Trump recently sent out talking about how Tuesday is going to be power plant day and bridge day, potentially going to blow up, a lot of infrastructure in Iran, and I'm sure Iran's going to retaliate and fire stuff back. We're already seeing rumors that they're going to attack Amazon or OpenAI, all this stuff that's based in the UAE as retaliation if we do this, which is going to cause problems for the stock market. We also, of course, know that the Strait of Hormuz is definitely restricted in flow, but there is still ships that are traveling through. On the back of that, if we take a look at the price of oil, it's been going to the moon, up over 105% from just a few months ago. The world economy is definitely under a little bit of strain right now when the price of oil is going up this much. So here's what we're going to do in this video. We got to break down in a very simple way how we could capitalize, how we could make money, and how we could use options in a responsible way to weather out the volatility, capitalize on the volatility, and when the storm passes, we're probably going to make a lot of money. And when I say that we could potentially make a lot of money, I mean that because there's a lot of opportunities out there right now. And guess what? This Iran thing, it's not going to last forever. And the volatility that we're getting from this should be viewed as opportunity. If we take a look at the NASDAQ, you could see from peak to trough, this dip, we went down roughly 12%. We did rebound a little bit, depending on when you're watching this video, but again, there's just a lot of volatility in the stock market right now. And you're seeing a lot of other stocks like Nvidia getting beat up, Meta getting beat up, Tesla, Apple, Amazon. Micron's been extremely volatile. Microsoft is definitely getting crushed right now. Marvell is one of the stocks that's definitely going up, but the list goes on. There's a bunch of companies right here. Robinhood got totally cut in half. Adobe too, Salesforce, stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, but there's also a lot of companies that were justified to fall in price. So while this Iran thing is definitely bad and it's definitely shaking up the markets, we have to think like investors here, not like the typical herd or retail, crew that goes and buys the meme stocks and hope they moon the next day. We're investors. We're going to use our heads. We're not going to be emotional. And we're simply going to buy good companies at good prices. And if we get a really good deal, we're going to use stock options to magnify that. Now, with the volatility that we are getting in the stock market, you have to understand this chart that basically says missing the best days in the stock market will crush your returns, which is obvious. Like some days the market will gap up 5%, even 10% some days. We just had a day a couple days ago where it gapped up like almost 4% in one day, like 3%, I think it was. And if we really scroll down and look at the data right here, you notice that for this 40-year period of time, literally 40 years, if you would have missed the 10 best days in the market, instead of having $1 million if you would have stayed invested the whole time, you would have $460,000. Your return is roughly 3% less. If you literally missed 10 days in a 40-year period, you would have less than half the amount of money if you would have stayed fully invested. Now, for the best days in the market, the 10 best days, the 20 best days, the 30 best days in a 40-year time frame, when do they usually come? They come in times like right now, when the market is a little bit beat up, when sentiment's bad, and when people are freaking out. This is when those big gap up days came. And you just saw recently how we had a couple really big green days. You don't know when those days are going to come. And when you miss them, and if you want to wait for the smoke to clear, your returns are going to get destroyed. So you cannot let the day-to-day volatility in the stock market, reading every single little Iran headline, scare you out of the market because you just don't know when those best days are actually going to be. So when the market is getting really nervous with this Iran situation and just kind of like gaps down right here, oftentimes the market says, wow, maybe it's not as bad as what we actually thought. And then it does a very sharp rebound back. And maybe this is the bottom for the market. And then we just see, some sort of Nike swoosh recovery from right here. I'm not calling a bottom, and I'll talk about where I think the market's going to go this year in a little bit. But the problem is that if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting to try to time the market or wait for, the smoke to clear to go invest back in, oftentimes by the time you feel confident enough to invest, you already missed a huge part of the move. And then you're investing when things are more expensive, and then you're chasing it higher because you get FOMO and you don't want to miss out. That's why most retail investors, they buy high and they sell low. And another chart that we have to go through that really just hits it home for how bad retail investors do in volatile times like this is this thing called the Robinhood Investor Index, which just updated recently, and it's kind of crazy if you really understand this. Take a look at it. Going from January of 2020 until right now, you can see that the blue line right here is going to be the NASDAQ, and then the green filled area is going to be the collection of Robinhood investors on the platform. Not Robinhood stock, Robinhood investors on a platform and how their ROI was. You could clearly see that they're getting smoked by the NASDAQ. They could have did nothing. They could have not done the wheel, the cover call, the day trading, the swing trading, the whatever strategy you want to do. The garbage cash secured put, portfolio secured puts always win. They could have just bought the NASDAQ and did nothing and beat how most Robinhooders do. The facts are right here. This is literally off of Robinhood's website. I don't know why they show you this. And then if you scroll down a little bit, it says join a new generation of investors. What, the generation of investors that don't beat the market? Like, it's funny. People get, swung into this stuff right here and really miss the big picture. But the point that I'm getting at is this. Most retail investors simply give into their emotions, buy high, sell low, lose money, don't beat the market, and just do poor over time. They feel like more trades equals more money. They try to chase things when they're going up. They panic sell when things are going down. And at the end of the day, nobody really knows when these gap ups are going to come or when these gap downs are going to come. Who would have thought the market would have went up 4% in the thick of it when we're still in the heat of this Iran situation and we might potentially blow up the entire country like Trump is saying? Nobody would have knew. I wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known. That is why we don't try to predict these things. We don't try to get cute and say, oh, well, I'm going to wait for the smoke to clear to invest. Because if you do that, you're going to end up in some of these buckets over here where you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for the smoke to clear and you miss it. If you miss the best 20 days in the stock market, 20 days in 40 years, you'd have $270,000. So think about that. There's an old saying that says, time in the market beats timing the market, meaning you just want to stay invested in good companies at fair valuation levels and you will do just fine. Then, of course, if you have a really good setup, we can magnify that with stock options. But understanding this will help you flip your mindset of knowing and accepting that we don't know when the best days are going to be. The best days often come after the worst days when we're still in the thick of this bad thing. But when you're in a bad thing and the sentiment is very bad out there in the market and the market just gets a little whiff of something good, like, oh, maybe we are going to be okay with this Iran thing. Maybe there is actually some oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, which there is. It's like maybe we're pricing this to a very crazy bearish level that doesn't really make sense. And then the market goes and gaps up. So understand that chart right there. But also to build on this a little bit, S&P 500 versus the average investor. It's very clear and it's very obvious. From 1996 to 2015, literally right before the dot-com crash, like 4 or 5 years before the dot-com crash, the average investor did 2.1%. Inflation did 2.2%. So the average investor did not make anything when you factor in inflation. They lost purchasing power of their money. But if you take a look at the S&P, it did about 8%. And look at the time frame right here. COVID, 2008, 1999, 9/11, bad stuff happened. The market still found a way to do 8.2% per year. So the moral of the story that I'm getting at here is that it is very hard to beat the S&P 500 in the long term. It's hard to beat the NASDAQ in the long term. Most retail investors, they get too antsy. They always feel like they have to go do something. Again, looking at the Robinhood Investor Index, we could probably all agree that Robinhood investors, and I'm not picking on you guys right now, but most Robinhood investors are less savvy. And the way that you know this is if you just go look at the earnings reports for Robinhood and see the average account value of people on Robinhood, it's below $10,000. But if you look on something like Charles Schwab, which is where I have a good chunk of my money, the average account value is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm not surprised that this new wave of investors coming through, these retail investors, they go make their Robinhood account, and then they go do these trades, and then they get smoked because they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the stuff I'm talking about right now. And I know this might be boring to you. You might not care about this. But again, I'm here to make money. I'm showing you the facts that the Robinhooders don't beat the NASDAQ. I'm showing you the facts that average investors do not beat the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. And missing the best days in the market is going to cost you everything. 10 days is going to cost you over half of your portfolio when we don't know when those 10 best days are going to come. All right, so how do we capitalize? How do we make some money? And what am I thinking right now? What is my sentiment overall in the stock market? So it's currently the beginning of April right now. I have to update this, but my current read on the stock market, I'm somewhere around a 7 out of 10 on my bull bear scale. This basically says based on the totality of the data, all the companies that I break down on my main scorecard, all the economic reports that I go through, everything that I do on a daily basis that I cover, I come out to this number right here of how bullish or bearish I am on the stock market. Right now, I am about a 7. 7 is definitely not very bearish, but it's also not very bullish. It's just on the bullish side of neutral, if that makes sense. And the main reason why you could see, like, coming from, the end of last year till right now, the numbers have been going up slowly simply because valuations have been coming down. You can see the chart's been going up and to the right very slowly here. But what you got to understand is that this is opposite of what most people think. Like these Robinhooders right here, they're freaking out and they're panicking and they're like, oh my God, the stock market's going down. It's going to keep going down. We're going to crash and never recover. That's when I start to get bullish because things are getting cheaper. You're getting more value, more bang for your buck. So that's why I'm slowly revising my numbers higher. I was at a 7.2 at the end of March, but then the market rebounded off of that low right there, as you see this little wick up right here. And I got a little bit more bearish simply because the market's not as cheap as what it was right here. So the main thing right now is, basically the NASDAQ right now is down about 10% from all-time highs. Rate hikes are being priced in, which I think is crazy. I know this is this line, but it's the same for below. Rate hikes are being priced in right now because of this whole oil debacle, and the markets are overly bearish in my opinion. Oil's up, bond yields are up, economy's okay, valuations are basically at intrinsic value right now. So you're getting in at a fair valuation level. So I'm just a plain Jane 7 right now on a 2-year basis, meaning I'm 7 out of 10 bullish, which means I think the market's going to do pretty good in the next 2 years, but I don't know what it's going to do in the next 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months. That's why I don't do short duration option contracts, because I don't know what's going to happen in the market in the short term. I just simply allocate to good companies at good prices and do options in a way that if the market falls 40, 50%, I'm going to be fine, but also to capitalize on these moves when these stocks go higher. The stocks that are top of the stock sheet right here, including the S&P and the NASDAQ, I'm allocating to these things actively right now, not betting the house. And I'm not looking at my feet either. I know that if I allocate right now, I might see a little bit of red. I might see a little bit of pain in the coming months. But we're going to talk in a year or two, and we're going to remember this video, and we're going to come back to it and say, remember when Brandon was making those videos where he said, you can make millions in 45 days, and then 60 days, and then 90 days. I think the titles were prior to this. Or Iran's giving us a generational wealth building opportunity. Because we are getting opportunities right now. The market's basically at fair value, and there's some individual companies that are clearly cheap right now that we could capitalize on. And when you allocate, you give yourself some time, keep your emotions in check, don't miss the best 10 days in the last 40 years, we're probably going to do just fine in the long term. That's what it all comes down to. So before you run away and head for the hills, just know that we're in extreme fear right now. And when there's blood in the streets, that's when there's opportunity. When we are trading below the 125-day moving average, there's opportunity. Think of this orange line right here as kind of like gravity. When we pull the stock market below it and you kind of let it go, it's like a rubber band that wants to fling back to the line. That's called reversion to the mean. The market's going to follow the 125-day moving average in the long term, which is kind of similar to the earnings per share growth line that I talk about. The market's a little bit undervalued right now. Of course, the 125-day moving average tells you really nothing about the fundamentals. It's just an average line. But this line happens to correspond with the actual profit line, which is what moves the price of stocks in the long term. So things are a little bit undervalued right now. There's a lot of extreme fear out there with stock price strength, fear out there right now with the breadth of the market basically saying like how many stocks are going up, how many stocks are going down. You could obviously see the thing that I love to look at, which is the put-call ratio. There's a huge spike right now of people buying put options to hedge their portfolios. They're likely doing this at the exact wrong time. When a market's falling, it's getting cheaper, safer, more compelling. Puts are downside protection, meaning why would you want to buy downside protection at a time that the market is cheap and falling and less likely to keep going down more? Totally not saying we can't go down more, but I'm saying the more that we fall, the more likely we're going to keep falling because it's getting so cheap and so compelling that eventually buyers are going to come in and buy this stuff up. And again, if we look at the market volatility index, like the VIX has been bouncing around up and down quite a bit, but at the end of the day, guys, there's opportunity out there. Keep your ratios in check, keep your pants on, keep your emotions in check. We're going to be just fine in the long term. The Iran thing is going to resolve. And guess what? I'll be right here on this YouTube channel telling you guys that there's something else to worry about. But guess what? The market's always going to climb a wall of worry, just like it has been for the last 100 years. And the next 100 years to come, there's going to be a lot of bad things to happen, a lot of market crashes to come. But as long as you buy good companies at good prices, keep your ratios in check so you could withstand any volatility and capitalize on it, you'll likely do well in the long term. And that's simply what I do and how I've been beating the market for the last 10 years on a total ROI basis. And I expect to continue doing that. So that's the video. If you got value, like, subscribe, hype, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And if you want to learn more about my option system, watch this playlist right here. It's going to help you out a lot. I'll see you guys there.